So my name is Jamira Burley, and I am the U.S. representative to the United Nations Global Education First Initiative. The U.S. YAG is a collection of 15 young people from 15 different countries who are all working to elevate the issues and concerns of young people from around the world to make sure and to ensure that every young person has access to education. As of right now, we are faced with the world's largest population of young people the world has ever seen. These are young people who are connected to different forms of technology, creating spaces for opportunities to collaborate across borders. But this is also a generation that is faced with a lot of adversities that prevent them from fully accessing education and fully being able to participate in society. So the purpose of this panel is to think about how does innovation play a role and collective leadership play a role in creating spaces for and opportunities for young people to access education and to allow them to fully be able to participate in society. So we have two great panelists for you all to hear about some of the work that they're doing in the Asia region. I'll allow them each an opportunity to share what's happening in their country. I'll ask a round of questions to clarify some of the work that they're doing, and then I'll open it up to the audience to ask additional questions and create an opportunity for a dialogue. So with that being said, I'm just going to briefly allow each of our panelists to introduce themselves and to talk about the work that they're doing in their own individual country. And we'll start with Professor Lu Ping.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's really great honor to be in this panel discussion, especially with Minister Kelly. In fact, it's supposed to be a Vice President of Tsinghua University, Professor Bin Yang, being here, but for some urgent mission, he has to stay in China. So today I was thinking I'm supposed to share with you some recent progresses in China about education and how we create new chances for the young people. So I think not only in China, but basically everywhere in the world, we are facing fundamental challenges in education in many, many aspects. I will raise the top three in my mind. I think is playing a critical role in China. So the first fundamental challenge is how are we going to prepare our younger generation in this fast developing age? As we are talking right now, we just get the news that the artificial intelligence, AlphaGo, just beat the world champion of Go, professional one, for 3 times. So it seems that our younger people are living in a world that they're not only facing robotics to compete with the labor-rich job chances, but also the manpower. So how do they survive? How do they develop in the future? The second major challenge is how are we going to increase the chance for everyone, not only the happy or lucky few around the country. How do we offer the best education for all of them instead of a small portion of it? And the third major challenge we are facing right now is how are we going to encourage our students to grow into local and global change makers instead of only successful individuals? Are we going to foster their collective intelligence, or are we, unfortunately, increasing their collective stupidity? So from these 3 major challenges, I think our government and our universities and our students themselves are trying a lot in the last years, try to figure out how do we survive, how do we develop in the future. So the first keyword I want to raise here is innovation. I think innovation is everywhere. We heard a lot in this forum, but also I think in every context of education. But innovation in China now is really a major national strategy. So in 2014, our premier, Ke Qiangli, he mentioned and he proposed to have mass innovation entrepreneurship as the new strategy for the country to develop in the future. In fact, there was much longer history in China to go through innovation-driven development. So like 10 years ago, there are grassroots activity and many young people taking their, they're being big fans of people like Jack Ma, like Steve Jobs, and they find their way by using the open source technology, including the 3D printers, to deliver their ideas and dreams into reality. So since then, and also with the help from the governmental support, and universities developing courses and training. Now younger people in China, they have a lot of chances to get into innovation and learning. And for the second thing, we call how to deal with the trade-off between quantity and quality of education. Basically, how do we offer high-quality education to everyone? And here, technology, especially the online technology, the internet-based learning, are playing a crucial role here. So in China, we start to work together with edX and other MOOC company and organizations since 2013. But since then, by the end of last year, we have roughly 100 million people in China learning via online methods. So can you imagine that it's already around 10% of the whole population of China? And those is not only increasing the chance to cover everyone, but also they offer a lot of rich materials of learning so that every single student can pick the proper one for them to fit their learning interest and their personality. So that's basically bringing the more law from computer science into education, where every sometime we can reduce the cost of learning with increase the quality of learning for everyone. And the third thing is we just want to avoid helping students to grow into elite mode of self-development and ignore the responsibility for the society. So there we try to work together with international organizations and engage the students into local and global social challenges. So for example, we are working with UN groups to take the Sustainable Development Goals as the learning material for the students to deliver not only their intelligence, but also their collective action towards solving the problems. So we work from climate change to environmental protection, from energy risk to education equity. So all these new methods, bringing new technologies, new mode of learning, and also the global engagement of young people to work together, is making the so-called 2.0 version of learning in China. And our universities, as the leading university, are playing a key role there. So if we have time, we can discuss in more details.
Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to His Excellency Khalid, who is the Minister of Education for Malaysia.
Thank you, Jumeirah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also, like the professor, I'm a great honor to become one of the panel today, discussion about the future of education, especially for the young generation. Then I take this opportunity to talk about the collective responsibility. We have Malaysia is a country about 30 million population. We compare with China, 1.4 billion. So we are 30 million population, and then we have the multicultural, religious, and then also we have the geography and also socio-economic background. Then we have two component on the what we call it the collective responsibility. Number one is education for unity. Education for unity because of we are on the multiracial. And number two is how do we build the nation in terms of the education policy. We're talking about the unity. We have the program, what we call it the involvement, the increase of the parental and the community involvement. This is one of the area where we are in the ministry. We are collaborate with the leaders in the NGO, Parent-Teacher Association, and also with the community. What we call it in the country is what we call it parent support group. Parent support group. For example, and for one district in our country, we have a 30 school or 35 school, primary and secondary. We have the committee. We have the committee from the parent side, and plus the teachers to engage our people to come in together with the teachers in the school and we have a program. This is a program started under the Malaysia National Blueprint to encourage parents especially working closely, plus the student alumni association, and also at the same time we need the people from the private sector to come in to involve with the program in the school. Last year, for example, we have the 62 school in Malaysia. They have a program, what we call it, the Trust School program. Trust School program involved with the private sector. They call it strategic partner in education. The component is injection of corporate sector best practice and ethos in the management of school. That one involved with the headmasters, teachers, and also principal. They have the seminar, they have the program in the school. Then we engage with the managing director or CEO in the company, came into the school and give them a briefing about the management plus the leadership. This is one of the program we will continue from last 2 years until 2025. And then we hope we can achieve about 500 schools by 2025. This parents and the private sector and NGO involved directly with the school. And under this program, private sector trust school program, what we strategize, number one is developing high quality leadership and management. Number two is improving the learning and teaching qualities, maximizing student achievement and potential, and strengthen the involvement of the parents, community, and others. And the last one is transforming vocational education. This is TVET. You know, from we are started in early 70s on the national policy of education in Malaysia. Started from the primary school, lower secondary and upper secondary school. Altogether about 11 years in the school. Most of them, there are some of the students, they are very good on academic, then they can continue in the college or university. But some of them we channel to the vocational. Last 2 years, under this National Education Blueprint, we transformed all the vocational school to the, they call it a secondary school and vocational school to vocational college. Form 4, age about 16 and 17 in the vocational college. Establish collaboration with the public and a private skill training institutes in high impact program. For example, aviation, marine, animation, and also the offer more the place to the student of special education need in the vocational training. 2015, more than 500 students received the vocational training skill. This is our new program in the Malaysia education policy. So I'm talking about involvement with the parent, private sector, and also we rebranding the vocational. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think one of the things that's interesting about this specific conference is that you have a range of individuals from business leaders to academia to youth leaders to individuals who just want to advocate on behalf of quality education. And so the two of you have very specific expertise in the areas in which you work as a professor and as a policymaker. My question to the two of you is what is the biggest challenge that you find in your specific role of leadership, and what can this conference or the individuals at this conference help to supplement or achieve those goals? And we can start with you, Minister, if that's okay.
One of the biggest challenge actually to face what we call it the new society. The new society. The new society means this is a digital society. You have the policy in the ministry level or national level. You have the teacher training college, and then you build the school, and you have the curriculum. You give information to all the parents about the curriculum, about the school, and about the program. But at the same time, we have the information, the digital information everywhere. So, as a policymakers, we need to we have among the professional in the policymakers, they must study what the young generation want actually, according to the new society, the new digital society, because of they cannot get all the information in the school, but they get information outside the school. Because they have a lot of information. So we must blend between the information, outside information, and outside from also from the curriculum, from teachers. That is, I think, is the biggest challenge this millennium about the education.
Yes, everything is at our fingertips, yes, which is good and bad. Professor?
Yeah, I think that my first point will echo the point of the minister. Basically, we are in an age that is changing such fast. As in the very beginning, we are saying artificial intelligence, we believe they are going to beat us in probably 20 years or 10 years, but we never imagine it's going to be today, literally. And then we need to really reconsider how fast we need to readjust our speed to catch up, and also what kind of mechanism we need to build up to make sure that we can keep improving at least as fast as the digital world and the new society. As with the background of biology, we can try to learn from biological system, where in very simple living systems like bacteria, usually they have mutations. So once you are facing a new environment, mutation will bring you some new phenotype. Then some of the new phenotype will adapt, and then you will survive. But once the organism are living in a much difficult or complex or changing environment, where mutation itself is not enough, then we need recombination. We have recombination between different individuals with different mutations, then we create even higher level of differences, basically diversity, where we can find probably better solutions. And then this really encouraged us to think, we need to think of, you cannot hear? Sorry, okay. I just make closer, okay, it's better. So what our thinking is, we need to create better open cooperating system where for our students and policymakers, teachers, and everyone basically on the society to exchange their ideas and the new imagination of adaptation. So that's something we are not so used to in the academia system. So we are so proud of the tradition for 300 years of training our students. We have the curriculum, and every day we are trying to improve the curriculum where we are not even noticing the curriculum itself is getting through the wrong direction. And one of the solutions we are trying to foster is to get our students as a majority of the learning activity into the thinking and designing of the curriculum itself. So basically, every single individual student should have their personalized, optimal solution for themselves. And altogether, they can learn from each other and to identify the common rules to move further. So I think here, recombination of great ideas in one country, in one society, but also in a global level, will be very important to find a solution.
Now, Minister Khalid, you mentioned collective partnership with parents. And so I think a lot of times when we talk about education, more than often parents are left out of the conversation on how they can be engaged in their child's education. So I'm curious, how have your specific government worked in collaboration with parents to allow them an opportunity to be more engaged in the leadership of education?
Thank you, Jumeirah. In Malaysia, we have the, in terms of the, I can give you the background. We have the urban society, and then we have the suburban society, and then we have the rural area. For the urban society, for example, we have the middle class upper. Then some of the program in the school, we know actually they have the program. They create the program in the school, innovation and creativity, innovative and creativity in the school. For example, when we're talking about the green school, or they're talking about the climate change, for example, in the school, we don't need put in the curriculum, but we on the physical. They have the parent-teacher association, for example. One school, they give rainwater harvesting. And then they give a small solar panel in the school, about 10 kilowatt. Then actually all the students in the urban, in the school, they understand what actually this is green school. They have the rainwater harvesting, they have the small solar panel in the school. Then we're talking about the climate change. They're talking about the green. They're talking about the saving energy, for example. Then they understand what actually the current situation on the globe. Number two, we have also in the rural area. But the rural area, we need the parent actually understand the most important thing is a relationship with the teachers. Parent, teachers association, or the NGO or alumni, for example, they have the engage with the teachers in the school. They have the, for example, the sport day, and they have the discussion, they have the seminar, they have the forum in the school, and also they have the program every week in the school. For example, parents, parent and community, they also are teachers or pensioners from the several departments. They came into the school and they give the idea when we're talking about science, for example, because of, everywhere they're talking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, very important. Our country also, we try to achieve some percentage of science, for example, in the classroom. Up to date, we're talking about 40-60, 40% in the science stream, and then 60% unscience. So we need maybe another years, 5 years or 6 years, come to up to the standard 50-50, for example. So we need the parent to come in and give the idea to in the school.
Thank you. And Professor, I'm curious because one of the things you mentioned too is in regards to one of your challenges is technology. So I'm curious, how do you balance what's happening every single day at their fingertips, or whether on Twitter or Facebook, to what's actually happening in the classroom? Because I think a lot of times students feel disconnected from what's happening in their own reality versus what the textbooks tell them. So have you been able to strike that balance, and what have been some of the lessons you've learned from that?
Yeah, I think there are quite many lessons I learned from my families, especially my daughter. and also the friends who are trying to figure out how to use technology in a positive way. So for my daughter, she is now a year and a half, and she can literally type texts and also write novel, kind of small novel or fairy tale on a laptop by learning everything by herself with a computer without my major help. I just my major contribution is bring the computer to her and put everything charged well. So she figured out everything with a computer and with understanding things by trying. So it seems that after 20 years of development of interface between computer and human, there is a huge potential that we can, fortunately, find some convergence between human intelligence and artificial intelligence if we work it properly. But then the hidden challenge here is we are creating big gap between those kids who are growing up with this technology and those who are not. So once they were in the same age, but those who are very able to be very creative and work together for crazy, exciting things, but those who just for whatever reason, in the first years of their life, they are kind of left behind. I think this is a risk of bringing a gap of literacy in this digital age and creating even larger gap between those students with good or the bad STEM education. So what we are trying to do here is that possibility to create the most simple and the cheapest solution as a small hardware and software package where for whoever, students, even in the rural area, they can pay almost nothing. They can still spend like $2 every day. Every day, so if they spend $2 and with the electricity every day, they can learn the fundamental skills and spirits of working together with the digital tools. So that's something we're working together with a new lab in Tsinghua University called the Lifelong Learning Lab. It's created and supported by Lego Foundation. We're trying to figure out how to help our students since they were born into their last day of life, live together with all this digital technology and also with others through digital technologies.
Thank you. Now we're going to take this opportunity to actually open it up to the floor. And in order to ensure that we get as many questions in as possible, I just ask that you keep your questions very short and concise. And if you can just say your name and your organization that you represent. Do we have any questions? I'm going to take the gentleman right here. Is there a mic? Oh, here comes one. Right here. Can you raise your hand, sir? Thank you. And if your question is to a specific panelist or to both of them, just let us know. Is it on? Yeah.
Sorry about that. My name is Anthony Joseph. I'm the principal of the GEMS Millennium School, Sharjah. While we're discussing the Asian scenario here, and thank you for all these valued points, we're talking about the emotional and social skills that we develop in children and aiming at a harmonious development in every child that we try to educate. But we also are up against the fact of our education, which is a job-oriented kind of an education we are. So by the time a child learns for a particular job, that job doesn't exist anymore. So what do we do in that kind of a scenario? Or we are aiming at a technology which is very advanced, and at the same time, technology is advancing. And so at the end of the academic years, that the child spends time in mastering a particular advancement in technology, the technology is advanced even further. So children are aghast at the situation which is thrown at their feet. What is your opinion on that? Thank you. I'll give the mic back to you. Okay, thank you.
Which answer you would like to hear first, from Minister or from me? Okay. Sure. So for me, that's really good question. I think no one, at least human being here, have the concrete answer to that question. But basically, I think we are having a tremendous shift from finite games to infinite games. So basically, like 100 years ago, even 20 years ago, the job market or the life is kind of a static. So once we are going to the school, we know roughly what kind of future we are going to have as our parents, okay? No matter I'm going to be a worker or I'm going to be engineer or scientist, I know roughly what life we are going to have. But now we're in a period that, okay, things are kind of changing, but we can still predict a little bit. But I think this speed of changing is really exponentially increasing. And it's very true that you are saying probably in 10 years or later, the speed we are changing is much slower compared to the world itself. Then basically we have no capability to predict. And here I think the strategy will be different. Basically we cannot adapt to any specific and concrete situation. But what we need to do, especially in the educational system, is to increase the adaptability of any single individual. So basically, when we say adaptability, it's about the learning capability, to learn how to adapt, to learn how to get information and how to live and with harmony with the world and others. And also, it's a term for us as human beings, as a collective, to think, okay, are we going to be leaving the world change in any shape, in any direction, in any speed as is naturally happening? Or at some point, we need to be smart and strong enough, or sometimes confident enough to slow down, to tune the direction, to rethink where we are going to. So I think at some point, the collective intelligence is reaching a level where we can direct our life in the future to some extent. But that's only my personal imagination.
Thank you. To answer this question, actually, is a very huge.
Been working on my mind for a long time.
But number one, I think the best prospect for the future, our children is we must have innovation and creative. So one of the area, for example, I'm talking about my Malaysia experience. For example, in the when we back to 20, 30 years ago, we have the primary school, secondary school, and then we have the university, college. Then after the college, after graduate, they are already in line with what the graduate go to the market, and they have the job. But now we have the government, especially government. Government together with the education policy must parallel in terms of create the feeling, create the hope, especially for the young generation. For example, when we built the high-tech park, we built the high-tech park, then we need the FDI, foreign direct investment. Then the FDI came into Malaysia, for example, 2 billion USD investment. We create the job. For example, one company in the high-tech industry, they need 600 engineers. 600 engineers. When they ask about 600 engineers, we must give the good quality engineers to the company. When we take our graduate from the university, give to the company, we make sure our curriculum also parallel with this, what the industry need. Those days our problem is we are not matching. When we are not matching, I give you one example. Infineon Corporation from Munich came to Malaysia 10 years ago. They need 650 engineers, local engineers. We give them 350, but 300 they must send back to Munich take about 6 to 1 year study. That we must give the allocation for these engineers goes to Munich. But now we must measure the curriculum, link up with the what the industry need. So one of the area, I think this we need the all the agencies must sit down together, discuss, and then they must make the one decision only. This is what we need. Then this is you must give parallel with this area.
Thank you. We had a question from the young lady in the back, white shirt. Yes.
Does it work? My name is Magdalena Osumi. I work for the Japan Times, and I would like to ask you, well, as we all know that, well, the advances in technology and accessibility to social media, for example, that often affect us, our perception of things. And I think that all the technology and this accessibility pose new challenges for, well, in education. So I would like to ask you, what do you think how children should be taught or prepared to perceive difficult intercultural issues resulting from events in the past? Like I know we all know that there are many unresolved issues, like between Japan and China, for example, and. I know it's a very broad question, but I'd like to ask you, how do you approach these kind of issues in schools, and how do you think this kind of issues should be taught like at home by parents? This is my question.
Since China is mentioned, so I should be the first to answer. That's a really great question. So I think when I was a student in university, we always hear that, okay, information is going to explode, and suddenly we will be running into the sea of information. At the time that we were thinking, okay, that's kidding, right? It's not going to happen. That was around 1990s. But then suddenly we have internet. It's turning into reality immediately. And in the very beginning, we were happy. We were very excited. So there are such interesting things that we can read, we can think of, we can debate of every day. But then afterwards, we were kind of running too much information that now we understand too much information is kind of not as informative as we expected. We are lost in information. That's one thing. But that's the living situation. We are here already. We cannot move back basically to the time with lack of information. But then, okay, in the sea of information, there is apparently choice and the trajectory of information in a kind of a hyper-dimensional space. And for younger kids, it's definitely the responsibility of parents and society and even university and schools working together to give them the proper, I think, training of thinking. So for me, choose is Miss World. For different people, the same message, the same objective information can lead to very different conclusion or choose. It's not always the immediate choose the most important thing. It's the way we think, we come to the truth is most important. So I would say for a younger generation, it's more important to be taught by their parents or to be cultivated in the mode of logic thinking and work together to learn from the lessons that were in the history and work out a better solution for the future together. I think that's basically, if we move back and look back into the history, we were much worse as earlier, in a human as a whole. And now we have both the resource of living, but also the capability of understanding and the way to organize our collective life in a global scale. I think this is the proper time to take the past the history as the lesson and then use them as the treasure to rethink what we can do in the future and to avoid the tragedy we already made in the last hundreds of years. Yeah.
Thank you. Advanced technology, actually, when we're talking about advanced technology today, compare with 20 years ago, I think now we're up to the benchmarking where we are now, especially on the internet. Number one, we must facing the current situation. In the education, teachers, for example, teachers must have a skill and also the good knowledge about the advanced technology. If the teachers don't have a skill, then also they don't have the knowledge about advanced technology, the teachers also left behind. Number two, we must create the conducive learning environment. For example, certain countries, including Malaysia, we have the already 21st, they call it what, 21st century classroom. 21st century classroom, they have the teachers, and also they have the IT, they have the technology. So they can choose, the teacher can give the information. At the same time, the student can go to the computer and go to Google and then go to the internet, then get information. So combine between the advanced technology and also from the pedagogy, from the teachers. And then also number three is communication skill with the children, communication skill. So that I think is very important, especially from the teachers, not only from the teacher, actually from the parent-teacher association, get involved directly with the school environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I saw a few questions over here. Rolando?
Hello, check, mic test. My name is Rolando. I'm from the Philippines, and I work with the United Nations Youth Advocacy Group, and I'm a teacher for children with disabilities. One of the most striking phrases or concepts during the ancient declaration is for education society and the international education community to work for the inclusion of children with disabilities into the education system. It's even exemplified in the Sustainable Development Goal in education that we have to deal with marginalized children because we can never achieve learning for all if we leave out children with disabilities, to be specific. Asia, a lot of countries in Asia, especially developing countries, 81% of children with disabilities are out of school. And that's a very unacceptable statistics. I want to know what your thoughts are about, as an academic and policymaker, how do we ensure and how do we make our governments accountable in order to ensure that children with disabilities are really included and can access education, and so we be able to achieve our goal of making learning for everyone? So just a question, and feel free to respond to it. Thank you.
I'm basically not in the governmental level, and I have no even statistics about the children education scenario in China. I think at least in a policy level, we have free and guaranteed education supported by the government. So I will stick to the academia point of view and also technical point of view. So basically, I think education is a born, I think, right for everyone. And also recently in the National Congress, we are proposing, even the Minister of Education in China proposing that we are going to try to make free education for high school as well in China. I think it's a reasonable goal to achieve, given the development of economics and also the new ways of teaching and learning. So as we said, I really don't think the way we term education is always proper in our all this kind of a context, because I think learning is more important than education. Learning is more learner-centered. At some point, no matter if the students are offered the official learning, which is in the classroom or in the school, sometimes they are really in a bad situation. They are not even interested. They are so bored of their classes. So for those students, I think even though they are in school, they were even in a worse case compared to the dropouts. So no matter if we reach the 100% of students living and learning in school, I think we are always facing how to make the real learning happen, in all the context. So I'm really thinking with new technologies and the shift of the function of teachers. The teacher can be the official teacher, professional ones, but also their parents and anyone around the world, their peers, like other classmates. So the knowledge should be very easy and free to be accessed from internet and every similar way. I think that's the infrastructure for 21st century. And the government should be responsible to build that up. And second thing is, once the knowledge is there, how to guarantee that the students will get qualified learning material and the learning pathway from this kind of free knowledge. And there, I think we need a kind of fundamental change of mindset when we are describing the functionality of a teacher. So teacher should not be the one transporting knowledge from one format to the brain of the kids, but really to facilitate their learning, to stimulate the students into a mode they want to learn from their living scenario and from the knowledge base. I think this is a really complex scenario, but I really don't think to for example, in the rural area of China, to build two more schools is giving the final solution. We are working on that. I think that's a very, very important process. But by the end, I think it's the shift of functionality of school and the teacher making the optimal solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with you when we're talking about the policy from the United Nations SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, under the 17th program under SDG. One of the area is the education for all, and I'm a board member of the UNESCO. So actually, last November, also we are very heavy discussion about the special program for the student. I give you example in Malaysia. We have the they call it a special school for the student. We have the they call it the Down syndrome student, and then also we have the primary special school, and also we have the they can go to the secondary together with with this student in the secondary school. We give the allocation, special allocation for this special school. Then we have in the teacher training college, we have the program, degree program for the teacher in the special school. Right now, I think about 1% from total student, less than 1% actually, from the total student in Malaysia, close to 5 million in the special school. But we give them special, especially in the rural area. If they are family, they can bring the children to the hostel, put in hostel, special school for that student.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more question. Right here, yes.
My name is Elindriana. I'm from Indonesia. I want to learn from Malaysia and China experiences in providing quality education for all students. Indonesian's law of education actually already mandated that all students have right to get quality education, but we are still struggling with the number of quality schools and the number of students who wants to continue the education. So I want to know what kind of experience, what kind of policies held in Malaysia, in China, in providing the quality education for all students. Because now we still need to select students based on their academic ability because we have limited quality schools. So do you also have this kind of experience, or maybe you have different experiences? Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. That's a very great question. In fact, firstly, yes, we still have the very strict national exam-based selection process, given we still have very limited high-quality resource for education in all the levels, from university down to high school and middle school. In fact, that's one of the reasons we have very high pricing of house in major cities close to the good, high school, middle school, or university. The pricing is, crazy. But we are still trying to solve this problem, and we always face the problem in China, especially given such a big population. And the quality education resource is kind of, increasing linearly. We cannot expect that we meet all the needs of the population in, reasonably short time. So now we are trying to see how to leverage the resource we have. For example, we have one Tsinghua University, one Peking University. They're really good, and it's recognized by all Chinese as the top universities. But we just cannot offer everyone to get into the university to learn. What can we do? And then we just need to understand why they think it's nice, it's necessary, and it's so important and critical to get into university like Tsinghua or Peking University. And apparently, they are looking for high-level professorship. They are seeking for the good job afterwards. They are trying to see, the high-level, intellectual communication and cooperation when they are on campus. So these things are the real meaning being a student in these, good universities. Then we try to divide these quality learning material and resources into different categories. Okay, so for professorship, it's very easy now to be accessed by online education. On the MOOC, we have already 200 courses from Tsinghua University on the Xuetang X, the online platform. And also we are working together with edX and others so that the top professors lecture in the world are offered freely to the students. For the life on campus, basically we can offer much more capacity compared to the number of students in the university. So we organize workshops all the time, we organize summer camps, we organize courses for certificate training. So for the students who cannot make it on campus, they can join the activity one way or the other. And for the community and cooperation, I think it's even easier in nowadays life. So we have a special program called MOOC. So for many of you, you may hear the MOOC, so Massive Open Online Courses. But in fact, now in China, we have a massive online open project system where the students, no matter if they are on campus or in other universities of China or even on the other campus of out of China, or even anyone randomly in the world, if they are interested in certain challenges, they can communicate and work together to conquer this challenge. And then they can get a record of success or achievement, which can be used as a proof of their future certificate from our university. So this is under the progresses. And also we are working together with top companies in China and around the world to deliver certain evaluation process so that they can get a good job after doing 1, 2, 3, 4, these kind of challenges. So by dividing or categorizing, the resources from top university or institution, we try to offer more qualified education resource to as many people as possible. But of course, it takes time and take a lot of innovation, creativity to match everyone's needs. Yeah.
We're talking about the quality of education. Number one, actually we're talking about the number one, we're talking about the good leader. We're talking about leadership, principal, headmasters. We must have the good, we have a quality principal, a quality headmaster in the school. They can provide the leadership in the school. This is number one. Number two is good teachers, good quality. They have a quality teachers in the school. Quality teachers in the school must come from the teacher, the good teacher training college. Malaysia experience, for the 30 years ago, you want to be a teacher, only they have a certificate. And then we upgrade to diploma. But now, all the teachers must have the degree, according to subject they want to teach. And then also, we need the infra. We need the good infra for the conducive environment for students. But you know, some of like in Malaysia also, we need 100% up to the benchmarking, but sometimes we cannot afford because of we must put the large education. In Malaysia, education is education ministry. We got from the Ministry of Finance. We are number one. The biggest allocation came to the education, but we need more actually to give the good infra. And number four, we need the good advisor, a good advisor among the university academician from university, among the private sector, also from the NGO, experience about 30, 40 years in the education line. They must give the idea how we working together, collaborate together to develop the quality of education. And also, we're talking about the advanced technology. Someone mentioned about advanced technology. We need the advanced technology to, together with the quality of leaders, teachers, infra, society, and also advanced technology. Advanced technology is internet connectivity. That is my opinion. Thank you very much.
Well, look at that. Time just flies by when you're having fun. I would like to first thank our panelists for taking time to share their thoughts with us today. I think three of the things that stuck with me was, one, is that if we're really going to have inclusive education, we need to ensure that all parties are at the table, including business leaders, to ensure that the quality of education continues to evolve with the advance of jobs for future young people, but also to make sure that we look at technology as a friend in the classroom versus looking for ways to exclude it, and thinking of ways in which we can think about transferable skills so that young people can continue to evolve with the advance in education. So I would like to also thank everyone in the audience for joining us today, because clearly there's a whole concert going on outside, but you chose to be here with us today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference, and thank you very much.
Thank you.